Hello, Schulering, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Talking Hospitality by Schulering Hub. Today, our guest is an industry thought leader and strategic advisor for independent hotels and small groups, specializing in technology deployments, revenue optimization, and operational improvements to boost team productivity. Based out in Toronto, Canada, he's most active throughout North America, in the Caribbean, and in Europe. Lately, his focus has grown to include wellness and how hotels can capitalize on what's being called the longevity revolution. Adam Mogelonsky, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sorry if I have a little stammer when it comes to your name. Mogelonsky. Did I pronounce right now?
That's it. Yeah, Mogelonsky. Long last name of Russian descent. I have a list of nicknames written on my computer, that I've accrued since kindergarten, I guess. And, it's like 25, 30 long. So Mogelonsky, or, our company name Hotel Mogel stems from that. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I met you from LinkedIn. You were writing about an event, and it was from Hotel Mogel, right?
Yep.
So I've seen that you cover a lot about technology. You cover a lot about wellness, and there is one buzzword that you speak about that is the Metaverse. And I would like to know from you, what's your top 2 Metaverse applications that hoteliers should be paying some attention?
Okay, so first off, let's preface the Metaverse. The Metaverse, don't think of it as anything different entirely. Think about it as an extension of the internet that's going to come along as we develop more bandwidth to handle higher amounts of video and processing power. That's it. It's a journey. It's going to take time. There's a lot of billion-dollar projects around the world to make that happen. But let's think the here and now. So the here and now for the Metaverse in 2022-23 is pre-visualization, which is to say you don't need a set of VR glasses or a HoloLens by Microsoft. Those are nice. You can do that. All you need is something called a laptop, 2-dimensional monitor, or a mobile phone. And you try before you buy. So for hotels, pre-visualization, you get a company to come in and map your hotel in 3D, port it over and create a digital twin in 3D space, in the Metaverse. Then from there, you make that link accessible to leisure guests or to event planners. And then from there, they go in and they can see your space prior to booking or signing a contract, whatever, and they get comfortable with it. They get more confident in your product. And that means they try before they buy. Like you go into a retail store, you try on clothing, you go to a car dealership, you test drive a car, you go on into the Metaverse to try and experience a hotel before you buy. And that's what it does. So on the leisure side, classic case, you have a full service resort on a beach and you have some amenities, be that a spa, you're trying to sell them on a cabana rental by the pool, beach reservations, any sort of restaurant that is a marquee destination. You put that into the Metaverse, you port it over, and then they can go and tour around and they say, yeah, this is for me. I want to do that. One step further is something called attribute-based selling, ABS, where either at the pre-booking stage or pre-arrival, two different modalities, what you do is you allow them to tour individual guest rooms. So that way you're not simply trying to upsell them from a standard room to a suite, or a suite to a premier suite, or whatever your room categories are. You're trying to sell them on one specific room. So you say, hey, for the pre-arrival, let's say, you just booked this standard room. Now let's go and you choose your individual room. Do you want it far away from the elevator? Do you want it ocean facing? Do you want it city facing? Do you want it garden facing? That's an extra $20 per night. But it's not just, we're not just telling you what it is, we're showing you what it is. And that helps secure the deal to really get that in place. Now let's take the concept of pre-visualization and think about it at the event planning stage. So the classic case, you take an event that, let's say, has round number 100 attendees, and that's what the event buyer is planning to do. You take your sales team member and they go in and say, okay, let's tour the hotel and map this out in the metaverse and the digital twin to decide where we want to go with this. Okay, so here's what our event space looks like with 100 guests, and we're going to show you some different configurations here. We're going to show you it with rounds, with U-shape, with theater. And now, oh wait, there's also this pre-function space here. And here's what it looks like with cocktail tables and a bar setup. By the way, that bar has a minimum spend of $10,000. But here's what it looks like. Easy. Let's throw that in there. Oh, by the way, you have 100 people. Would you also want a room block with that? Here's what it looks like if you can rent out the top 3 floors as a full section buyout, so that way you have access to those floors, common space, and no other guests are allowed on that. That's an additional $25,000. And then the price tag keeps going up and up and up, but people are seeing the product. You're not just telling them what they're getting, they're seeing the project in real time, and that increases booking confidence at the event level to increase total revenue per contract.
That's an amazing way of putting the metaverse to a functionality. And if I understood well as well, for the hotelier, it's not only the opportunity to have that extra revenue and to show, but it is just a logical evolution of the internet itself. Just as now we rely on photography and 10 years ago we didn't. Now in 10 years time, the hotelier will depend on the technology to show, because the guest will be expecting that from the hotelier. Do you think, am I in the right line of thought here?
Oh, of course, it's always an evolution. So if you look at hotel websites, nowadays, when you arrive on a website, you have the hero image or the feature image. And generally speaking, that's now a video clip that's been properly optimized for website performance and whatever. 10 years ago, that would have been a slider of optimized images, because you wouldn't want to have a video there because the load times weren't there. Be wherever in cyberspace your website is hosted, you didn't want to slow down the user experience by having a video clip. Now we have enough quote unquote bandwidth, whether it's server side or wherever the website is being accessed from, that it's all but mandatory to keep people engaged with a video clip. The metaverse is simply the next stage on top of that. Or, as we should just say, VR, virtual reality. It's just the next stage in that evolution.
You talk a lot about technology for the hotelier. So what would be your top 3 near-term tech priorities for the hotelier, and why is that?
Okay, number 1 is not exactly a silver bullet of a new technology to implement. It is soft technology innovation, which could be otherwise codified as reducing the digital noise. So if you look at how systems are run, a lot of times hotel tech stacks have good data integrations. We're working towards the holy grail of knowing your customer, KYC, all that fun stuff. But at the center of it, you have managers writing emails attached to email chains where they're not directly involved. You have organizing when meetings are going to take place. You have meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, video conference here, here, here. And that all adds up to a lack of time to really focus on any individual project. And this is where technology butts up against human DNA. Humans are horrible multitaskers. Our genetics, we are not designed to multitask. So if you're going from meeting, then a 5-minute break to video conference, then a half an hour break, then back to another video conference, by the end of the day, after all that and trying to get to the holy grail of inbox zero, you're drained and you have no time to really think. Humans are best, we're single taskers. We like to have solid chunks of time to really focus on things away from the social media, away from text messaging, away from the phone, away from the email. So the soft tech innovation that hotels can focus on for 2023 is reducing this noise to allow managers and associates to focus more on complex tasks and to be more guest facing. So we come in as consultants and we do this. We look not only at where the tech stack has gaps and looking at vendors who can fill those gaps and data connections and all that stuff, but we come in and say, okay, let's look at the Teams function. Why do you have to have 6 managers in on a meeting when only 2 people are talking? Why can't you just have right now recording this video and then that can be digitalized to get minutes, or you just have a quick minutes, which is a quick summary of 3 or 4 points that you need to summarize it and direct tasks. Really increase team productivity by reducing the digital noise. That's number 1. Number 2, as mentioned in number 1, is working towards this knowing your customer, your unified guest profile, rich guest data, whatever you want to call it. And in large part, that comes down to the emergence of customer data platforms. So these systems that can intelligently pipe and clean data into one centralized place. So that way you can make smart decisions based upon that. And really where we're seeing this converge is around customer data platforms, so CDPs, combined with BI, business intelligence, where the whole point of both of these is to get as much data in as possible, but then combine that data with some form of artificial intelligence to lead managers in the right decision. Because even though you're piping in all this data and cleaning and bringing it into one storehouse, it still is too much data to act on. So you got to properly filter it and identify patterns in a way that is meaningful for managers to act on very quickly. Yeah. Then number 3 is, that's all the back end, the employee facing side. Number 3 is the guest facing side, which is you take number 1, streamlining your teams. Number 2, getting all the data into one place. Number 3 is how you're going to act on that to build revenue. And really where we're seeing the revenue side move is away from RevPAR and the siloing of revenues, where rooms revenue is one and then everything else is totally separate, and looking at how to build total revenue, or TRevPAR, revenue per guest, RevPAG, revenue per available guest, all these sorts of terms where the idea is not just maximizing rooms revenue, but understanding that occupancy may be variable, rates may adjust or have to go down with any sort of recession, and trying to identify not only which customers generate the most revenue, so that way you can find those lookalike audiences, to generate more of those customers, but also looking at upselling opportunities and how you're going to go about moving a guest, for example, from just heads and beds, so they only book rooms and then do nothing else, to get them to try out more services. And the underlying thesis here is that the more a guest spends with a hotel, overall in a general sense, the more satisfied they are, the more likely they are to recommend your hotel, and the more likely they are to return. So you got to develop a system and a process for moving guests up the ladder, so to speak, of heads and beds to brand advocates or brand enthusiasts.
That's a great way of putting it, understanding actually the guest journey and leveraging that to create more guest journeys. Join us for the part 2, where Adam discusses the challenges hoteliers have to implement tech, the wellness opportunities in hospitality, and the change in the demographics of our world and how the aging population will affect the industry.